Aloha, and thank you again for being with us this morning, although not in person, to listen to the teachings of the Buddha, which is the most important part of any religious service we do here, whether online or in person. We may chant the sutras, sing gathas, perform rituals, steeped in antiquity, in languages we sometimes do not fully understand anymore. But those are adjuncts to prepare our minds to be receptive to the teachings, which is the heart of every religious service and the main purpose of why we come to the temple. Rituals are not the most important thing in the service, but the teachings are. So, let's get on and listen to the Dharma attentively.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Amida Betsuin.
let's put our hands together in Gasho. Amida, full of compassion for those lost in the great night of ignorance, the wheel of light of Dharma body, being boundless, took the form of the Buddha of unhindered light and appeared in the land of peace. Amida, who attained Buddhahood in the infinite past, full of compassion for foolish beings of the 5 defilements, took the form of Shakamuni Buddha and appeared in Gaia. From Shinran Shonin's Jodo Wasan, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning. Thank you again for tuning in today to our Betsuin online Dharma service. The year is about to end, but unfortunately, the troubles of 2020, most infamously the pandemic, doesn't seem like it will go or end anytime soon. But we are optimistic that this month, the first clinical immunization with the newly developed vaccines will start. First for the frontline workers in healthcare and other essential services workers, and those elderly with underlying physical conditions. The projected immunization of 70% of the entire population of the United States is by May of 2021. Something to look forward to. Temple services, however, continue through online videos by way of social media. Recently, we also had the Nembutsu seminar online by the Bishop of the Buddhist Churches of America, Bishop Marvin Harada, which offered a practical approach to truth-level Buddhism. Nembutsu seminars are a great way to learn the Dharma because there is usually a question and answer portion, group discussion, exchange of ideas and opinions, and other ways of learning the teachings of the Buddha. I have been to many Nembutsu seminars in the past, and one of the most interesting ones is one I attended at Honpa Hongwanji in Maui in 2013. The guest speaker at that time was Reverend Laverne Sasaki, retired minister of the Buddhist Churches of America. He conducted a 2-day seminar on Jodo Shinshu, including also going over some of the basics of Buddhism and how our tradition of Mahayana Buddhism evolved from the period after the historical Buddha passed away, some 500 years later. There were interesting questions posed during the seminar, and some of the most thought-provoking ones were, how many Buddhas are there in ultimate reality? Who or what is Amida Buddha? How did the concept of Amida Buddha and the Pure Land tradition of Buddhism come about? Some 500 years after the death of the historical Buddha, Shakamuni. If I recall correctly, let's answer the questions in order. First question, how many Buddhas are really out there? There is no exact mathematical figure. Some books on Buddhism give the number as many as the grains of sand in the Ganges River in India. That is a fantastic figure. I personally raised that question myself with Reverend Sasaki, and he did not answer the question directly, but rather put his hands together in Gasho and bowed in front of the listeners. His implication by this action is that every one of us are potential Buddhas, and that is just the human beings that inhabit our world. If we include all living sentient beings, including the smallest insects or organisms, then the number of potential Buddhas can exceed even the grains of sand of all the beaches and oceans on earth. It is because each sentient being has what is called Buddha nature, the potential for awakening to ultimate truth in the universe. All the living beings, living things we see outside this temple, and even the ones too tiny for us to see with our naked eyes, will someday also, according to Buddhist teaching, become Buddhas or awakened ones. Awakening is the same as enlightenment. Well then, based on that teaching, there are billions, perhaps trillions of Buddhas and potential Buddhas in the entire universe. But how come our central object of reverence is only one Buddha? That is Amida Buddha. And what about the historical Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, Shakamuni Buddha? Where does he fit in? Before I continue, I'd like to ask, who knows the difference between Shakamuni Buddha and Amida Buddha? Who doesn't know? Shakamuni Buddha, the historical Buddha and founder of Buddhism, and Amida Buddha, the Buddha of the Western Pure Land, are not exactly the same from an ordinary person's view. So, who is this Buddha? The standing Buddha behind me is Amida Buddha. We all know that, yes? So, is this sitting figure the historical Buddha who lived in India 2,500 years ago? No, this is not Shakamuni Buddha. This is also Amida Buddha. The sitting form is the same Amida you see in other Pure Land temples, like in Jodo Shinshu, or the big sitting Buddha in Kamakura, in Japan. But there are statues of the sitting Shakamuni Buddha too. And Shakamuni and Amida's features are almost alike. How can we tell the difference? The mudra, or the hand position for Amida, is like this. So, if you see two circles formed by the forefinger and the thumb on a sitting Buddha, that Buddha is Amida Buddha. This is called Mida no Join Mudra in Japanese. Shakamuni Buddha's hand position is like this. Only one big circle. Right hand placed on top of the left palm, facing upwards, thumbs touching each other. Both mudras or hand gestures are called gestures of meditation. These meditation hand gestures, to distinguish the sitting Shakamuni Buddha and Amida Buddha in statues, is common in Japan, but rarely seen in other Pure Land Buddhist countries, like China. In our Jodo Shinshu Buddhist tradition, however, Amida Buddha is always depicted in statue form as standing up, not sitting, with one hand going up in mudra form and the other pointing down. This is symbolic of Amida no longer in meditation, but already in dynamic action for our salvation. One foot of the standing Amida Buddha is actually in front of the other foot to symbolize Amida's coming towards us in order to save us. But so far, those differences between Amida and Shakamuni are only in appearance, the hand gestures and statues that represent them. The most important difference between Amida and Shakamuni Buddha is that Amida was not a historical person. He never lived on earth, was not a human being, but Amida, some Buddhist scholars say, is a personified symbol for the Dharma itself, nirvana, enlightenment, or ultimate reality or truth. Ultimate truth is something beyond our ordinary human comprehension. It cannot be expressed precisely in words, but its main essence is wisdom and compassion that embraces all life. Because Amida represents ultimate reality, Amida actually has no form, no shape, color, or material essence. We humans make him appear like a human being in order to at least have a frame of reference that we can conceptually understand. Shakamuni Buddha, on the other hand, was a historical person. He lived in India 2,500 years ago and founded Buddhism. He gave up his comfortable life as a prince in a kingdom to seek ways to eliminate the sufferings of all sentient beings. He discovered that path to end suffering when he awakened to the Dharma. He became enlightened and so was called Buddha, the awakened one. He taught what he had awakened to upon his enlightenment for 45 years and died at the age of 80. To what did Shakamuni Buddha come to be enlightened? He was enlightened to the law of universal truth. He did not create the Dharma. Rather, he rediscovered or realized the Dharma. The Dharma created the Buddha. One becomes a Buddha upon awakening to and understanding ultimate reality. The Dharma is timeless. It has no beginning and no end. And it has always existed even before the historical Buddha was born. Going back to Amida, since Amida Buddha is a personification of the eternal Dharma, then Amida, as representing ultimate reality, was there even before Shakamuni came into existence. Amida is one of the three forms of Buddhas called the Sambhogakaya form, a Buddha that transcends all color, all forms, even time and space. Amida Buddha, whose essence is wisdom and compassion, has always been trying to reach out to us beings who are living in this world of suffering created by our ignorance and delusions. However, because Amida, or the eternal Buddha, belongs to a different, non-material realm, he could not connect directly to us beings in a material world. Our ordinary senses cannot perceive something that has no form, shape, and color. How then can a formless, colorless, shapeless Buddha make his presence and teachings known to us beings in a world with form, color, shape, and substance? He has to take a human form, become like us. And so, according to one Mahayana explanation, the historical human Buddha, Shakamuni, who lived in India, was a bodily manifestation called the Nirmanakaya form of the eternal, timeless Buddha, who, according to Shinran Shonin, is called Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha is a manifestation of truth itself, the Dharma, the ultimate reality of all things. It exists universally in all times and places, but it is utterly beyond our mental powers to understand. Our minds were formed to perceive and understand matters through conflicts and limits. But if the Buddha is unlimited and we are limited, we are forever unable to interact or communicate. That is precisely why the eternal Buddha reaches out to us from the formless realm of eternal liberation and takes a form and manifests himself in our physical world. That is the meaning of the Japanese word Nyorai or Tathagata in Sanskrit to describe the Buddha. That virtue is the voice calling to us in the form of the name Namo Amida Butsu. Amida Buddha expressed his primal vow, a pledge to liberate every sentient being without exception, through the mouth and words of Shakamuni Buddha. Shakamuni, the historical Buddha, is therefore Amida Buddha, the timeless, formless Buddha in human form, as Shinran Shonin stated in his Jodo Wasan. Are you confused enough? Let's get on to the third and last question or point. The concept and veneration of Amida only came about 500 years after the death of Shakamuni Buddha. Theravada Buddhists and some modern-day Buddhist scholars use this fact to say that Amida Buddha came about later after Shakamuni Buddha, and therefore Amida is not a real Buddha and was a creation of later-day Buddhists. It is true that the story of Amida's becoming a Buddha is not based on historical fact, but Amida, as I said earlier, is not a historical figure. The story of Amida goes that a person named Dharmakara, Hozo Bosatsu, made vows to save beings from suffering, attain enlightenment, and become Amida Buddha after many eons of practice. The characters with the Amida story may be apocryphal, but the basis for the story of Amida becoming a Buddha is not false. Awakening to reality is not fictitious. The goal of our Buddhist path is, in itself, awakening to Buddhahood. Shakamuni Buddha, a real person who lived in India thousands of years ago, awakened to that truth, and so did many other bodhisattvas in the past. That's not fiction, but a historical fact. However, this is a very complicated matter to discuss. It has led to arguments, debates, and created confusion among the ordinary followers of the Buddha's teaching. And that is why there are many forms of Buddhism that exist today. The explanation given by some Buddhist researchers as to why the worship of Amida and Mahayana Buddhism came later after the death of the historical Buddha was that Amida came to symbolize the spirit of Shakamuni Buddha's compassion, the aspiration for the historical Buddha's efforts to teach the way to enlightenment. 500 years after Shakamuni Buddha's death, his teachings were beginning to be focused on just practice for self-enlightenment of the practitioner, the spirit of compassion, the desire to save all enlightened beings, not just oneself, was beginning to disappear. It was to re-emphasize the spirit of compassion and universal salvation that Mahayana Buddhism and the concept of Amida and the Pure Land developed, as some Buddhist scholars say. However, because I am a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist and therefore follow Buddhism according to what Shinran Shonin has taught, I accept Amida, Buddha, as the personification of ultimate truth or reality, manifested in human form by the historical Shakamuni Buddha. Amida is unconditional love, compassion that calls to us to return to our true nature of being Buddhas by awakening to things as they truly are, through which we all will be freed from the suffering inherent in our unenlightened realm. Personally, I feel as a minister that it is rather pointless to try and reinterpret what I have been taught since I converted to Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. As an ordinary person without any intellectual ability, I just accept what Shinran said in the Tani Sho. Quote, "As for me, I simply accept and entrust myself to what my revered teacher Honen told me. Just say the Nembutsu and be saved by Amida. Nothing else is involved." Unquote. Thank you all very much for listening. Let's pray together in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo No, Namo No, Namo No, Namo No.
We come to meet the
We hope you found meaning in today's Dharma message and all the messages that we ministers of the Honpa Hongwanji Hawaii Betsuin post regularly here on YouTube in lieu of the regular in-person Sunday services we were conducting before COVID-19. The Dharma is not only the teachings of the Buddha, but it's inclusive of every aspect of our lives, and as such may become complicated or not easy to comprehend immediately. But we ministers of the Hawaii Betsuin have the duty to clarify any and all areas of the teachings that are useful and meaningful, yet requires further explanations as we tread the Nembutsu path towards the completion of our spiritual journey in life. We are always available by phone should a need arise. Thank you again, and we hope to see you all once more next week in this online Sunday service. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Good morning. This is Ben, Rudiger, and Ellen. We're very excited to be with you all and to wish you a very happy new year. It's been an exciting time for us. The last few weeks we have had some big accomplishments in the family. We're very excited about Ellen. Ellen, do you want to say what you just completed?
I finished my marathon 26.2 miles, and I got my poem published in the Silver Beach.
You did the official Honolulu Marathon this year because it was virtual, so you completed all 26.2 miles. It was your first marathon.
And there's still time if you want to get in a marathon. It goes until December 31st. So we're very excited about that. And Ellen wrote a poem about the place she's been doing a lot of her walks for the 26.2 miles, which is the Manoa Chinese Cemetery. It's near where we are these days in Manoa. And that's where Ellen wrote about for the Civil Beat Neighborhood Haiku Contest. And I know other members of our temple community have also been published in that contest. And Rudiger also has some big news.
Well, after 6.5 years at Pacific Buddhist Academy, I am now the Director of Advancement at Hawaii Youth Symphony, which makes music a right for all youth in Hawaii and beyond, and really nurtures our youth to develop their potential to the greatest extent, and is a lifelong community, I know, for many people in Hawaii, that includes members of the Hongwanji. And so I've been at my new job for over 2 months. It's a wonderful, wonderful ohana. And I see the Hongwanji ohana and the Hawaii Youth Symphony ohana merging in a wonderful, wonderful way. And I have to say, I miss serving coffee and tea after the services. I miss it so much. I really, really look forward to doing that again.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to mention, I'm still at Pacific Buddhist Academy, and I look forward to seeing the members of our temple community when our school comes back in January. We love seeing the reverends around the campus, and hopefully in 2021, we'll find a time when we can all be back at the Betsuin together. This is a time of year as we get ready for the new year when we've been thinking a lot about what we're grateful for. And we're very grateful that we have been able to stay safe during the pandemic. We're grateful for the way the temple has really come together to support people wearing masks and observing the distancing they need to. but also keeping the message and the Dharma coming through and keeping fellowship for us. Have you enjoyed the Dharma School services?
They've been really fun.
So we want to wish you all a very happy, healthy, and safe 2021 from our Ohana to yours.